It's Sunday the 22nd of January 2017, and you are listening to the Paul Clark Podcast. And so another day, and with it yet comes another protest. More protests across the United States, across America, and in some cases, even other parts of the world. But predominantly America, and predominantly in Washington, D.C., the heart of government, the heartbeat of democracy. And yesterday, it was the turn of the feminazis. The feminazis were out, marching against democracy, marching against the 45th President of the United States. And this particular march of the feminists was led by Madonna, or, as I shall be referring to her here on out, terrorist Madonna. Terrorist Madonna. Because make no mistake, dear listeners, that is exactly what she is. Madonna is a terrorist. Madonna threatened to blow up the White House. Madonna wants to blow up the White House, killing not only the President of the United States and his Vice President, but also killing all the innocent civilians in there who were just doing their jobs, the catering staff, the cleaners, the families, the President's children, the Vice President's children, their wives. Very liberal of you, Madonna. Very liberal of you. But you know there's a place for you, Madonna. There's a place for people like you, love. It's called Guantanamo Bay. And what we do with people like you, Madonna, is we lock you up there and we torture you. We waterboard you. We find out what you know. Because what she said is akin to an act of terrorism. And just think about it for a second. Just think about this. Imagine if it was some Muslim preacher that turned around and said that. Imagine if it was some ethnic person who said that on the television or the radio or said it in an article. The FBI would be knocking on their door and would lock them up and would question them. But Madonna gets away with it because she's supposedly rich and powerful. She might be rich. I'll give her that. She's richer than I will ever be. But you're not powerful, Madonna. And your movement that you are part of, love, the movement of liberalism, is dying, is dead. People are turning their backs on liberalism in droves. And you know how I put the question to you in my last podcast as to why liberalism has become so hate-filled and so venomous. By the way, I've got some shout-outs to do about that later on in the podcast, so stick around for that if you like. But you know how I posed that question as to why liberals have become so hate-filled and so venomous? Well, they should also ask themselves and start looking withinwards and start wondering, why have we become like this? How did we get like this? How did basically we become an offshoot of ISIS or Nazism or Al-Qaeda? Because that's what they do in these other countries, right? That's what Nazi Germany was. You don't agree with someone, have them killed. And liberals, I thought, were supposed to be about tolerance and peace and love. Obviously not when you've got A-list celebrities who seemingly, with no repercussions whatsoever, can get up on stage and threaten to blow up the White House. Again, just imagine if some Muslim in the media or some radical preacher, who, to be fair, probably should be locked up if he's a radical preacher. But just imagine if someone in London or New York, some Muslim, stood up on a box and started making comments like that just days after the inauguration of a president. They would be locked up. They would be thrown into Guantanamo Bay and they would be tortured. And that's what should happen to Madonna, because she is no better than a preacher. She is an Islamic terrorist sympathiser, that woman. That's exactly what she is. And that's exactly what liberalism has become. Because you do have to wonder, don't you? Why are they so pro-illegal immigration? Why are they so pro-illegal immigration? And hear me when I say that, by the way, because you have to be so very plain and clear here when you start talking like this. So I'm going to say this, I'm going to reiterate this yet again. Illegal immigration. I do not have a problem, neither as does any sane, rational thinking person have a problem with legal immigration. It's the illegal side of it we do not like. And yet people like Madonna and these liberals seem to think that, oh no, all immigration's okay. Let them all in. Let all the illegals in. Why do you think that is? Well, just look at it. By not vetting people, you don't know who's coming into your country. So you could have radical Islamic extremists coming in who could then go onto the streets of London or New York City or Washington, D.C. and blow up innocent civilians. Kill, massacre, maim innocent civilians in the name of their so-called God, Allah, or whatever it is they're into. And obviously the likes of Madonna are okay with that, because she in herself wants to blow up innocent civilians. She wants to blow up the heart of government, which is exactly, by the way, what Al-Qaeda wanted to do on September the 11th. Because if you remember, there were 4 planes on September the 11th. 4 planes. 2 of which crashed into the World Trade Center in New York. The other crashed into the Pentagon in Washington. And the other one, which got brought down by the passengers on there who made the ultimate sacrifice for their president, for democracy. But that other plane that got brought down in Pennsylvania was heading for the White House. Now, I wouldn't be at all surprised to find that the next terrorist attack by aeroplane comes from Madonna, who probably flies British Airways International into the White House, because that's what she wants. She wants democracy to die. Well, good, Madonna, because that's exactly what ISIS want. That's exactly what Nazi Germany wanted. They wanted people to die. So, wonderful. That's liberalism for you now, folks, in the 21st century. Don't like democracy, people have to die. And I've heard protesters say that. I mean, the guys at Right Side Broadcasting, who I've just got to say have been doing a phenomenal job over the last couple of days of their coverage of the inauguration. And one of their guys, Will, they've actually had on the ground in Washington and New York, and they've just been sending him all over the place, talking to these protesters. And one of them he went up to, and she says, people have to die now. People have got to die because of what's happened with Trump. Liberalism for you guys. That's liberalism in the 21st century, where people have to die and where celebrities have now converted to terrorism or threats of acts of terrorism. That is liberalism in the 21st century for you. Now, a couple of shouts out. In my last podcast, I posed a question. I posed a question as to why liberalism has become so hate-filled and so aggressive. And a shout out to Sue, to Alex, to Louise, to anyone that commented on that one, and in particular anyone that downloaded that episode, because the stats for these podcasts, guys, have gone through the roof lately. It's amazing. And people are sharing them around and commenting on them. So keep it up, guys. Keep it up. In particular, a big thank you to Corey Gilmore, who is a friend of mine on Facebook. And I hope he's not too embarrassed by this, but I really wanted to thank him personally. Because Corey, I don't think he'll mind me saying this, has special needs, special requirements. I think he says he has cerebral palsy. And he sent me a lovely message, very personal message on Facebook Messenger, and it touched me, mate. And It really means a lot to me that you would do that. And he comes from America. He lives in America under the current climate. And he was telling me what it's been like for him in particular, with his special requirements that he has, to be living in a divided country. So I appreciate that, mate. Thank you very much for your comments and all the kind things and the feedback you've been giving me. And you should do a podcast yourself, my friend, because you've got some very interesting views. Or not all of which, of course, I agree with, by the way. But everyone's entitled to their opinion. And that leads me on to the next thing that I want to talk about. I want to expand these podcasts. Now, I've talked about that before. One of the ideas I originally had was going to be the idea for a walk and talk, but I don't think it's the right weather at the moment to be going around with my phone doing a live stream on Facebook, walk and talk, given the fact that it's bitterly cold out there and I myself have just got over a pretty bad bout of the flu. So I don't think I'm going to be doing that anytime soon. But one thing I do want to do, and I'll probably start it maybe this weekend, maybe next weekend, I'm going to do a live stream on YouTube. I'm going to set up a YouTube account later this week. It's quite simply going to be called the Paul Clark Podcast or the Paul Clark Show, whatever. And it'll basically just be an hour. It'll just be 1 hour, just similar to these podcasts, but it'll be on webcam, so you'll be able to see me. You'll be able to see my ugly mug, and hopefully we'll be able to take some calls, and I'll get some feedback from people through Skype. You can contact me through Skype. My Skype address is Paul Clark 1984. It's all lowercase. It's Paul Clark 1984. So add me to that, and then I can add you into the conversation. Or you can comment, as the live stream goes out on YouTube. But that's going to be happening either this weekend or next weekend, but it's going to be happening very, very soon. I've just got to work out a few kinks. I'll be doing it through my PlayStation, actually. I'll be doing it through my PS3. My computer, it's basically on last legs. Don't bother about that anymore, really, now. It's just, it's had its day. I only ever bothered with that computer just to edit my films, but I'm going to be getting myself a laptop anyway where I can do all that on. So yeah, the computer's RIP, as they say. But yeah, that's something that I'm going to be doing. So it'll just be an hour, be like these podcasts, but getting your views. Because as great as these podcasts are, in that it's great for my ego, but it does get a bit repetitive with me just talking, doesn't it? Over and over and over again. And you must get sick of my voice. And it would be nice just to get some other people's different perspectives. And I'd love to hear from some liberals. I don't just want this to become a liberal bashing place. There's probably some good liberals out there. In fact, I know there's some good liberals out there. I know a fair few of them myself. And I'd imagine they're no more happy with currently what's happened to their belief system, as it were, than I am. Because I used to be someone who... look, I voted Labour. All my life I voted Labour. The election coming up in 5 years' time, well, less than that now. I think it's about 3.5 years' time from now, will be the first year that I've ever voted Conservative. And that I've not voted Labour. But I can't vote Labour under its current leadership. I just can't. But I used to vote Labour. I was a big advocate of Tony Blair. But I am gradually going to the right, to the centre right in my life. A friend of mine once asked me, he said, what are you, Paul? Are you conservative or liberal? Well, if he asked me that again, I'd say, look, man, I'm conservative, man, these days. I got to be honest with you. I'm going that way. I'm going that way because I am not liking the left these days. So much anger, so much rage on the left. But not to say that I wouldn't be opposed to having people come on the podcast, coming on the 1 hour live stream show, and sticking up for liberalism and putting forward another side to the argument. Anyway, thank you for listening to this latest edition of the Paul Clark Podcast. Really hope you enjoy it, and comment below as always. Let me know your thoughts. As I say, thank you to everyone that's been downloading these, listening to these. The stats, the listening figures are very strong right now. So let's keep it up, guys, because the more people that listen to it, the more like it is I will continue to do it. Thank you very much, and I'll see you again very soon on the Paul Clark Podcast.